What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Celtics Daily with me, Mike Zakarian. Today, we got a banger of a video, and speaking of bangers, we're talking NBA physicality, because when we get to the playoffs, for whatever reason, the referees, Adam Silver, everybody just decides it's okay to beat the crap out of each other. And normally, I'm for that, but this season, it feels like it's gotten turned up a couple of two notches too far. Let's start just with Boston and Orlando, okay? Tatum gets dinged up pretty aggressively in Game 1. We get the clean x-ray, so everything seems like it's good. Then he gets ruled out for Game 2, and now he has a doubtful tag for Game 3, which is actually tonight in Orlando against the Magic. I thought for Game 2, they were just resting him. They felt like, hey, we could get this W at home, and maybe they feel that way about Game 3, too. They're up 2-0. They're kind of in cruise control, right? But it's a little concerning that he's going to miss the game. Then we had the bloody unicorn, right? Kristaps Porzingis gets smoked in the face. He's got blood dripping down this way, down this way, down this way. It was blood everywhere. And then we also got reports that Drew Holiday, the glue guy of NBA championship runs from both here in Boston and in Milwaukee, he's also questionable for tonight. Now, the Celtics, if they're down 2 of their 5 starters, maybe like 2.5, although Jaylen Brown looks good, but he's also battling injuries. This looks worrisome moving forward, but it's not just happening in Boston. We saw Jimmy Butler, bruised butt and all. He goes down. He's questionable for this upcoming Game 3 against the Houston Rockets. And then just last night, Ja Morant, the high-flying acrobat who sometimes brings the guns out, he goes out there and he falls so hard. He is moved from the game. He's toast. I don't think we see Ja Morant again. I mean, granted, Memphis probably only has 1 game left after blowing a 28-point lead against the Oklahoma City Thunder. But the physicality has just been ratcheted up. You've seen Asard Thompson and the Detroit Pistons really get aggressive, even though they had a Game 3 loss last night at home against the Knicks. So there's just a lot of physicality, and I'm for it. I like that this is how the teams are able to defend. I want to see a physical game. I don't want to see scores being 140 to 138. However, the refs probably need to get a handle on the whistle, and I imagine we see that in Game 3 to start in Boston-Orlando. Maybe we see a couple of ticky-tack fouls, both against Orlando and Boston, just for the refs to regain control. Because if it continues this way, Boston and Orlando already started to get chippy, right? We saw it with KCP and Al Horford, the Houston Golden State series. I promise you there's going to be some fights in this next game if the refs don't take control. Curious what the chat's thoughts are, though. How are you feeling about the physicality and the difference between the NBA regular season and the NBA playoffs? I think most people are going to agree, like we are pro physicality, but you have to be able to do it in a way where it's not completely upsetting the flow of the game. So we're not constantly going to the booth to review if something's a flagrant 1 or not. So hopefully we're still able to up the level of toughness that's happening without it affecting the game and getting people hurt, because you don't want playoff runs where everybody's best player is down. Jimmy Butler, second best Warrior. Ja Morant, the best guy on the Grizzlies, well, arguably. And then Tatum, again, like a top 5 MVP candidate, is now missed most likely 2 playoff games. So hopefully, again, no more injuries and that we can just still beat each other up, but do it in a nice way, okay? Is that too much to ask? And speaking of doing it the right way, I wanted to just talk about rest versus rust. I think that's something that we might be talking about a little bit more if the Celtics are able to go take care of business in Orlando this weekend. Because right now, that Knicks, the winner of this Celtics Magic series will take on the winner of the Knicks Pistons series. Now, that series now, Detroit losing last night at home. The Knicks are up 2-1. However, every game has been a battle. It's been a little bit close. Celtics, on the other hand, they're up 2-0. They look pretty comfortable that this should end in 4 or 5. Would you rather the Celtics take care of business in 4 and just let everybody chill? But they might get like a full week off by the next time they play, while the Knicks or the Pistons might be in a better rhythm and used to playing like these heavy minutes when they start round 2. And I'm always curious if people prefer the rest versus the rust. And I think for the Celtics, especially with the physicality of this Orlando series, they are begging to be done in 4. Let everybody go sit in an ice bath for a couple of days and then go from there. But sometimes you do see it, like the Lakers heading into the playoffs were able to rest their guys for like 3 or 4 days heading into the postseason. And then Game 1 against the Minnesota Timberwolves, they absolutely no-showed. But then you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, who were able to rest their guys, and the Cleveland Cavaliers, who were able to rest their guys for almost like 2 weeks heading into the playoffs. And then they have been dismantling their opponents in the Grizzlies and in the Miami Heat. So I think I'm team rest, especially with the Celtics team. Like I think if it's a young team, like maybe the Pistons, for example, you want to just stay in that flow of everything. But the Celtics, who have already been here before, they've had so many playoff battles and scars. They're obviously defending champions. I think they are very comfortable flipping the switch when it's time to go. So let's hope as we head to Orlando, we take care of business this weekend, and then everybody's able to just put some icy hot on, relax, sip a margarita or something, and then get ready for round two. And then, speaking of that, let's hope that the Knicks Pistons game series goes on forever, just forever. 7 games, all going to overtime. That's what I'm looking for. Speaking of the Cavaliers, we mentioned them. Evan Mobley took down Defensive Player of the Year. I believe Dyson Daniels finished second in voting, and Draymond Green finished third in voting. But I was wondering, like the Celtics, obviously Marcus Smart won Defensive Player of the Year not too long ago, but the Defensive Player of the Year award almost feels like it should be more of a team award. I mean, like Defensive Team of the Year, which is a little bit easier. You can just look at the data analytics to decide that. But to me, defense is such a team thing. Like it's hard to be a great individual team defender. Like, yes, Rudy Gobert is somebody who's won it a bunch of times, right? And yet he gets exposed occasionally in the playoffs while still being a really solid defender. But even like the year Marcus Smart won it, that felt more like a team award because you had Robert Williams were anchoring the defense down low. You had your wings that could all defend because, you get switched onto so many different matchups. You have to be like an amoeba almost the way that you communicate with one another, because I just feel like the Celtics were one of the more dominant defensive teams this year, and to not be even in the conversation of Defensive Player of the Year just feels a little wrong. And I mean, even the Oklahoma City Thunder, right? Their worst defender in their starting 5 is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, right? And he's still a good defender. You have J-Dub, Jalen Williams, you have Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, and they historically one of the best defensive teams we've seen in a long time. So I don't know. I'm not saying we shouldn't give out the Defensive Player of the Year award. I am saying, though, maybe we can give a team a little love. And is this just me forcing more Celtics awards into the national conversation? Yeah. I mean, the Celtics were so good this year. Even in Cleveland, obviously, Evan Mobley winning, right? They're the 1 seed, and he should have been Defensive Player of the Year. So I think it's fine. Just, give some Celtics some love. Also, let's all just rejoice that Draymond Green didn't win, okay? Draymond Green, that would be like me being like, hey guys, I need you to go out there and vote me YouTuber of the Year for 10-minute videos about the Boston Celtics. Like Draymond using his own platform to be like, oh yeah, I am the Defensive Player of the Year. He was trying to win an Emmy or an Oscar or something, for your consideration, and billboards plastered all over. It was just garbage. It was garbage. So I'm glad he didn't take it down. And if you are also a Warriors fan, I'm sorry if this felt slanderous, but it needed to be said. So congrats to Evan Mobley, to Dyson Daniels, and to Draymond Green. All right, let's head to the weekend. The Celtics are taking on Orlando. They're going to the happiest place on earth to try to finish business. Now, it sounds like we got no Tatum in this one. I imagine Orlando role players, they tend to shoot the ball a little bit better when they're at home, even though Orlando as an offense doesn't shoot. That will also, if you guys want to pay attention to something, if you want to see something a little ugly, what is going on with Franz Wagner's jump shot? Now, Franz is still an excellent player, the young German out there for Orlando. I mean, I think he's been averaging 20-plus points so far in the first 2 games. He had 25 in game 2. But he used to be a 38% three-point shooter, something which isn't lighting the world on fire, but it's not bad. For whatever reason, he's throwing curveballs up there. There was in game 2, he caught one of the, he got open for a above the break 3-point, on the angle a little bit, and it just... It was like a slider. It was like Pedro Martinez in his prime. I don't know what is going on there, but that jump shot looks broken. Cole Anthony, maybe he gets freed up a little bit. He's only been playing a couple of minutes for the Orlando Magic right now, which just, again, speaking of defense, that just goes to show you how dominant the Celtics defense is. They're we can't throw a small guard out there in Cole Anthony. I did mention in a previous video about keeping an eye on Anthony Black. He ended up playing a lot of minutes for Orlando off the bench and looked pretty solid, so I wonder if we see more of that. But I do expect Game 3 to once again be a little bit more physical than even what we saw in Boston because now Orlando's back's against the wall. They have to win game 3. It's must win. You can't go down 3-0 and come back and win unless you're the Boston Red Sox, kid. Shout out Big Papi. So I imagine it's going to get pretty physical, and I would like to think that the Orlando offense is going to try to, kickstart some stuff a little bit. However, if the Celtics are without Tatum and Drew Holiday, this is going to be a really close, not a fun game, but you should look for Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser to probably get a ton of three-point shots up. Celtics have done a really good job. I mentioned earlier that the Orlando Magic are one of the best defending teams against the three-point line, and the Celtics still have been able to get their shots off. I know their scoring's down a little bit, but considering how physical the play has been and how good Orlando has been defensively, it still looks pretty solid that they're getting up the shots that they're getting up. So I'm going to go out on a limb. I kind of think Orlando's going to steal game 3 here, and then the Celtics will take 4 and take 5. But I'm praying for the sweep. Bring the brooms out, but it does feel like Orlando steals this one. But we'll see. Hopefully, more importantly, we just need those Celtics to be healthy, man. We need Tatum right, we need Drew Holiday right, and we need Jaylen Brown right. We can't be messing around with that stuff. Who knows? Maybe Joe Mazzulla is going to get out there. He keeps talking about how much he loves seeing blood on the court. Maybe we see some Joey Maz out there with some blood. I hope not. No more blood. Let's all agree on that. No more blood. But that's going to do it for this edition of Celtics Daily with Mike Zakarian. Thank you for hanging out. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and go Celtics.